investigation into the practices of a specific local police department. The first one, of course, was last week when he announced a pattern and practice investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department after the police killings in Minneapolis of George Floyd and then Daunte Wright in Brooklyn Center nearby. The new one announced today by Attorney General Garland will be in Louisville, Kentucky, after the very high-profile police killing of Breyonna Taylor during the execution of a no-knock warrant on the apartment where she was sleeping. The new police chief in Louisville, interestingly, welcomed this move, this announcement by the Justice Department today. That's important. These investigations by the Federal Justice Department are a really big deal. They can bring about significant and fairly fast changes in policing. It's a big deal for the Justice Department to do something like this. This happened quite a few times during the Obama administration. Trump did it once total in 4 years. Now it seems like the Biden Justice Administration will be using this more regularly, essentially to force police reform by intensive federally led police oversight in individual cities. So we're going to have more on that ahead tonight as well. On COVID, two big moves on two big issues today. One international, one domestic. First, the international. The White House announcing that in addition to medical supplies and equipment, that the federal government is going to rush to India to help India deal with the just apocalyptic conditions they have there. People dying on the streets outside hospitals that can't admit them without access to even just oxygen that might keep them alive. In addition to the specific help that the Biden administration has just announced for India, which is having such a disastrous time right now. The White House today also announced that the 60 million doses we have stockpiled of the AstraZeneca vaccine, 60 million doses that we're not going to use, at least anytime soon, those will be donated to other countries. AstraZeneca is an approved vaccine all over the world, but our FDA hasn't yet approved it here. The reason we've got a stockpile of 60 million doses of that vaccine is because they built up that stockpile. So once the FDA did approve AstraZeneca, 60 million doses would be instantly available and ready to ship out. Now, the FDA may yet approve AstraZeneca for use by Americans, but rather than wait for that, given that we now have sufficient supplies of the 3 other vaccines that are already approved here, those AstraZeneca vaccines are now going to be sent to other countries. And I think it's probably easiest to think of this as a sort of down payment on what is expected to be a fairly massive U.S. effort ultimately to help get the whole world vaccinated, because without the whole world vaccinated, the whole world, including us, is never going to beat this thing. So that's what's going on the international level. Fascinating. U.S. global leadership upping global capacity to handle this pandemic. But in addition to that, we're also expecting a big domestic announcement on COVID from President Biden tomorrow. As lots of states have been freelancing on the masks issue, just dropping or changing mask mandates according to local politics or local considerations instead of on the basis of clear national scientific guidance. Dr. Anthony Fauci has said recently that we should expect the CDC to update their national guidance soon about whether or not we should all still wear masks when we are outdoors. Well, now we believe that new guidance from the CDC could come as soon as tomorrow. We don't yet know what it will be, and we don't know how complex it will be. We don't know, for example, if that guidance about mask use outdoors will be different for people who are vaccinated versus people who aren't vaccinated. But here's something interesting that you may not have seen reported today. We can report tonight, we've confirmed that the guidance we have been waiting for a long time now on masks in the workplace. President Biden, in his first week in office, asked OSHA to develop this guidance for all American workplaces with a deadline of March 15th to have it ready. Since then, you might have noticed, we've talked about this several times on the show, we have repeatedly asked OSHA and the Labor Department where it is. Again, Biden's executive order from his first few days in office said that OSHA needed to have mask guidance for a federal workplace rule for mask guidance ready by March 15th. Since March 15th, we keep asking, where is it? What happened to that? Well, tonight, they tell us that the new proposed rule from OSHA about masks in the workplace, that proposed rule has been delivered to the White House today, to the Office of Management and Budget. And this is a big deal. I mean, the Office of Management and Budget, there will be some sort of review, but eventually this rule is going to be announced. And this is a big deal for all the checkerboard mishmash, right, on masks, with some states having mandates to use masks and some states not, some counties having mandates, some cities, some towns, some workplaces having mask rules, and some not. If the Biden administration is now going to say, hey, new nationwide enforceable federal rule on workplace safety about masks, here's what the deal is on masks for all workplaces. That is going to be a very big deal. And again, that new proposed rule from OSHA has finally been delivered to the White House as of tonight, more than a month late. And apparently it has been delivered on the eve of President Biden's expected announcement tomorrow on new mask guidance for people when they're outdoors, new mask guidance from the CDC. We don't know what the proposed federal workplace rule says yet. I'm truly curious to see how it's worded and how this turns out and what they're going to recommend. To be totally honest with you,